Everyone recommends the same horror movies every year to watch, and while the classics are amazing, if you want to get complimented from your friend group for recommending the horror movie that no one had seen and everyone likes, I have some recommendations for you. These are some foolproof, crowd-pleasing horror movie recommendations that I bet you haven't seen, or maybe you haven't seen most of them, but there's something for everyone here. Okay, first up, an actually fresh take on the zombie movie genre. One Cut of the Dead is an amazing horror comedy. If you like Shaun of the Dead, this has very similar vibes. Like you'll know what you're getting in for. This is a horror comedy that focuses on the comedy. It's also like a very sweet kind of tribute to zombie movies and like B movies in general, but it's a very lighthearted, fun romp. I think that this is like a very good group movie. Alternatively, if you want to take on a zombie movie that's going to stress you the fuck out, might I recommend Pontypool, which is a very claustrophobic, like single location film that is incredibly tense. This one has a really nice like Orson Welles' War of the Worlds kind of vibe. Also, like the tension is paced really nicely. It builds to this really good place that like keeps you kind of stressing the whole time, but has a very satisfying conclusion. Okay, moving on to vampires. Obviously, everybody knows Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but I feel like shockingly few people have seen the 1992 film that the series ended up being based on. This is also written by Joss Whedon. It's like his original concept, but this movie is fucking hilarious. First of all, the cast was amazing. Donald Sutherland plays her watcher, Rutger Hauer plays the big vampire baddie, and Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman, plays one of the funniest vampires ever. Also, Luke Perry is the love interest. David Arquette and Hilary Swank are in this too. I quote this movie constantly. It is so funny and so fun and so quintessentially 90s. Like, this is an absolutely excellent choice to watch for the group. If you want to watch a sexy Halloween movie, I cannot recommend The Hunger enough. It's an 80s fever dream where Catherine Deneuve plays a bisexual immortal seductress, and David Bowie and Susan Sarandon play her love interests, okay? This movie is incredibly sexy, very romantic, and also just kind of bizarre in the best way. If you want a weird, disturbing, and gross horror movie, I highly recommend May, which has like a classic 2000s goth aesthetic and is also just like super uncomfortable, but in a very entertaining way. This one gives me kind of like audition vibes, so I'd say this is kind of like more of an intermediate horror recommendation, not so much for newbies. I feel like most people are familiar with Ty West now, obviously because of his Maxine trilogy, but I do feel like The House of the Devil still flies under the radar in a big way. This is a really awesome and authentic like homage to classic 70s like satanic horror. It's really beautifully done. It has some really good kills. It does have like a slow build, but a very, very good payoff. This would be a very good recommendation for like people that are really into A24 films. I feel like this would be a big hit. And finally, if you like your horror romantic, I feel like Spring harkens back to like the classic Universal monster movies in the way that like it is kind of a creature feature, but the emphasis is on the romance and the loneliness and the connection. Spring is really great. If you like movies like Only Lovers Left Alive, I feel like would be a good contemporary comparison for this. Spring is genuinely romantic and genuinely creepy.